So recently, Tehran Katarlson had on a guest on his podcast. The podcast at this point should probably be labeled something like It Was the Jews. He had a guy by the name of Anthony Aguilar, who is a man that has been discredited 1,000 times over. However, in the whacked out world of the Jew hater, that means nothing at all, so long as you have something to add to the fuel of the Jew hate. And so this guy Aguilar came on to talk about, or at least perpetuate the lie that Israel is starving, the poor people of Hamas land. Also that, there's a genocide of sorts taking place, in the very same nation who literally accepts all people and are basically the only ones who do so in that region, right? Including the quote unquote Palestinians accepted into Israel, though they're not accepted into Jordan or Egypt, etc. Anyway, this guy comes out and makes a statement about, this kid who was taken out by the IDF. This poor child who was massacred. Yeah, it turns out that the entire story was absolute BS. But, before we unpack this and get into the article, I want to start off by getting into the original clip where he speaks of this young man.
This young little boy, his name is Amir. I know that because when he walked over from the crowd of people, he walked toward me. And the guy standing next to me, this young boy, holds his hand and he kisses it. He felt for the first time in a long time that there was someone that cared. And he looked at me in the eyes and he says, "Thank you." He said it in English. "Thank you." Amir goes back to the main group and he goes out the exit. We had a very strict protocol that they come in a certain way, get the aid, and then they go out a certain way. So Amir didn't make it home. He walked 12 kilometers to get some food, picked up scraps off the ground, because that's all that was left, because the 8-minute mayhem took all of the food. And by the time he got there,
I'm sorry, that wasn't Hamas, who's taken about 90% of the food that has entered into Gaza. Wasn't them, right? No. Yeah, no, because they're the good guys, of course. I mean, this is according to Tucker, right? I mean, just asking questions.
Walking with no shoes, hungry and tired. The only thing left for him was to pick up some remnants off the ground. And when he left, he was by the IDF. Why? Because they lack discipline, they lack standards, and they lack basic human decency.
So again, this is Anthony Aguilar, who has been discredited from just about anybody he's dealt with, including, his former military peers. And it turns out that the reason he has been discredited time and time again is because he is an absolute liar. Turns out that little boy is not only alive, but the people who seem to care about his well-being more than most are the old Jews, right? The old IDF, who has taken in quote-unquote Palestinian children, has cared for them, has protected them, has done all they could for them in the midst of war, whilst their own mothers hold them up as martyrs. My child will die for the cause, due to their own ideology, of course. So, before we get into the article, I want to show you guys this video I came across, because I always wonder, why do we never get any sort of look into maybe the good of some of these people? Why is it always negative, right? And I'm not saying that there's anything pretty about war. I'm not saying that, children have not lost their lives. That is unfortunate. But again, this is a war. And the reason why the so-called Palestinians are throwing this hissy fit is because they're losing a war that they started. I know we don't like that, the old facts, but it is what it is. So I came across this video right here, and I'm going to let it play out, and then we will discuss. Watch out, little boy. The big bad IDF is going to come get you. Watch out, little boy. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, wait a minute. Are they talking to that little boy? Not the talking to the little boy. Looks like what happened to that little boy is kind of close to what Anthony Aguilar, witnessed with his own eyes. That little boy was blown into smithereens by the big bad IDF. Yeah, no, in reality, that little boy shook hands with the soldier who's simply just standing there because it's a little boy. Now, I want you to notice, because they love to talk about noticing. I want you to notice something. The father is sending this little boy over, and what does he say? He says, take the life of my son. I'll make this make sense in a little bit. He's telling them to pew his son. He's telling his son, go over there. Don't be afraid. Go over there. Let them you. Which culture has the issue here? Wait for it. Which culture is the problematic culture? I give you a couple of options. Option number one, is it the culture of essentially individuals that look to defend their homeland and to get back their hostages? That's option one. Or is it the nation, the group of individuals whose ideology would have a father send his own son to go get blown into smithereens for the sake of martyrdom, for the sake of actually sympathy? In that clip, what he wanted, because somebody's filming on his side, what he wanted was to have a story so they can pack up their little Gaza wood into a fine-tuned narrative that they can sell to the Western world. Oh, look at the little boy. The innocent little boy walked over, waving his flag with pride, had every idea of what he was doing, was definitely not sent over by his father, who literally called out for the little boy to have his life taken. Look what he said. You are good at taking the lives of little children. I'm going to put the jokes to the side for a second. This is so disgusting. And, the one thing I've said, especially to the Jewish folk out there, the ones I've had an opportunity to speak to, etc., is, look, you need to be unapologetic about the truth. You need to stop, yes, there's both sides. And, no, because they're not being nuanced with you. They're not allowing for any room. They're saying you are baby. You take the life of the innocent young. That's what they're saying. There is no nuance for you. They're lying directly about you. They're making up stories and selling those stories to the media and not blinking twice. You need to confront it with, you guys have a sick, twisted, I'm saying it in generalities like you do. I'm generalizing now, and I'm okay with that because that's all y'all do. You Palestinians, so-called Palestinians, who can't even be recognized by the people you came from, the Jordanians or the Egyptians, etc. You people have a culture that teaches your children genocide is okay. You have a culture that teaches your children that they need to lose their lives for the sake of this quote unquote holy war. And so, why would you cry victim about your children losing their lives when you're the one who offered them up as sacrifice in wartime, when you hide behind them and use them as shields? See, when you say it that directly, yeah, sure, they'll be pissed off. They're going to be pissed off regardless. Yeah, they're going to feel some type of way. But one thing they can't do is to refute it in a serious manner. Meet them where they're at when it comes to that. That Aguilar character came onto Tucker's platform spewing off lies about a genocide when all you have to do is look at the statistical data about population. If Israel wanted to wipe those people off the map, people, do you not believe that they would do it in a single afternoon? Look at Gaza. Yeah, look at all these buildings that have been torn apart. Yeah, look at them. Now, do you not believe the very same people with an army capable of that in order to uproot whatever needs to be uprooted, while sending you messages, by the way, text messages sent to warn you about which building is about to be hit. Do you not think those very same people, if they actually wanted to wipe you off the face of the earth, would first of all start with the quote unquote Palestinians or Arabs and Muslims in their country? Would they not start there, as the little mustache man did, and then start to import them or start to, take them for wherever they are? Yeah, that's a little bit of dose of what we call just common sense, reason, ration, something that is non-existent in the minds of many of these scoundrels out here, waving around this terror flag. But I'm still asking these questions, and I will ask them continuously, and I will state the facts. There is no genocide against the Palestinians. I don't know how many times I will have to say it, but I will say it until it no longer has to be said. Even the New York Times had to come out and make a statement, but they swept that one under the rug. Nobody heard of that publication, right? Oh, perhaps there's no genocide taking place. Yeah, you think? With the swelling population, you think? Well, maybe Israel actually isn't starving them, because technically, if you're feeding your enemy, which nobody else has technically done throughout the history of war, so technically, you're kind of doing them more than a service. So if the food you're sending is being taken by the people that you voted into power, then maybe, just maybe, the baddie guys are not starving you. Yeah, you think? You think? Israel could have come into that land and stripped every resource, period. But instead, they choose to take your children and women and to put them into care centers and hospitals. Instead, they choose to send their own to care for your people in the midst of a war that your people started. This is a softball war. The deeper you get into it and the more you start to really look at the context of world history, we're going to alert you to when we're going to strike. Humane. We're going to send hundreds of tons of food to you. Humane. America would have turned that place into a parking lot yesterday. And there would have been one conversation about no baby, no child, no nothing. It would have been the enemy and us. That's what it would have been. Am I saying that's right? No, but that's the reality. So why is that higher standard always placed upon the Jewish people? Because it's easy to scapegoat them. It has been easy to hate. And because people haven't stood up. It's easier to just go, oh, well, it's not us. Are you not human? Are you not one who claims to defend the side of what is right, the truth? Or do you care more about being, liked in your little friend group? Do you like being invited to brunches? Maybe that's you. And if that's you, I would rather do without your cowardice. But yeah, it turns out that little boy's alive. So, let's see how long this article is. I didn't took up this time. Sometimes I get caught up all the way in it because I'm tired. I'm tired of the lies, and my tiredness spawns into action. So I will never tire of doing what is right. All right. So bada bing, bada boom. Exclusive video reveals Gaza boy said to be taken out by the IDF is alive. Go figure. Young boy dubbed Amir, who traveled to Gaza Humanitarian Foundation or GHF distribution site, was reported as being unalive by the IDF in May, has now been found alive and was hiding out with his mother. In an exclusive interview with the boy, whose real name was confirmed to be by GHF to be Abdul Rahim Muhammad Hamden, my goodness, but who goes by Abud, the 8-year-old and his mother answered questions provided by Fox News Digital through GHF translator, in which the pair appears excited ahead of the planning extraction from the Gaza Strip. Abud, his mother, whose name is Najla, were safely extracted from the Gaza Strip on Thursday, though the location has not been disclosed in this reporting. Yeah, probably because Hamas will come looking for him, to be honest. Reporting from their, reporting for their protection, of course. Outside the Gaza Strip is nice. Aboud said, according to the translation verified by Fox News Digital. So that sounds like a very alive boy. What else do we have here? The story of Aboud went viral after a former GHF contractor, Anthony Aguilar, did not know he worked for that organization. A 25-year veteran of the U.S. Army and retired Green Beret said he saw the boy, who he called Amir, taken down by IDF forces outside of their facility. Wow. Wow. And for those who say it's not him, yeah, I mean, if you live in the world of, all things are conspiracies, then yeah, it's a clone or something like that. We'll just go with clone. In his account, Aguilar shows images taken using the Fox News Digital later confirmed was his personal smartphone, the footage of which he handed over to his employer of the boy approaching him and another contractor clutching bags of food. Aguilar claims that he and the boy had a touching moment where Abdul, whose nickname was Aboud, kissed his hand and then his face in apparent thanks for the food supplies. Okay. The former Green Beret said that the boy then ran back to the group of other Palestinians who were shortly after forced to leave the aid site after pepper spray, tear gas, and stun grenades were deployed. How can I believe any of this? That's what he claimed oh, good Lord, in an interview with MSNBC. That's literally all I would need to hear. That's all I would need to hear. I didn't need anything else besides this. This is what he told MSNBC. Okay. Aguilar, who was employed as a contractor for UG Solutions, a subcontractor of GHF, then said he heard shots fired after Palestinians had left, and upon reaching the scene, he found Abdul and others had been taken out by the IDF. Okay, so he literally just creates an entire story. Tehran's best friends, his compadres, those he platforms, are basically exactly what he is. Pathological liars, malignant narcissists, outright sociopaths. Hey, yeah, I know, my iPhone didn't catch this part, but I went out there and all of them were just, their lives were all taken by the big bad IDFs. It's like the story when they're talking about how, people were showing up to the aid sites to get food. And then the IDF started to shoot at them. Yeah, it turns out that what happened was it was actually Hamas. Go figure. Those guys just always seem to show up. Hamas, in an effort to stop people from taking the food so they could take it, so they could sell it in order to, further their aims. Turns out through camera footage, actually, when you have the hearsay, it's always IDF, it's always Israel, always the Jew. But once you have cameras, once you have actual irrefutable evidence, turns out that in almost every case, it is Hamas. It is the quote unquote Palestinians. History is going to tell this story, if it tells it honestly, in an utterly shocking way for much of the world. This is going to be a great awakening of the proportions of, 2020, the old vid, right? The old Fauci, ouchie, Japsky, Wapsky season. It's going to be that sort of what the kind of psychosis was the entire world under then. Couldn't we not see it? Were we that dumb? But, when a majority of the people are bought into a lie, most people follow that herd mentality. So yeah, it's good to know that little Aboud, the little boy is good. He's alive. And I hope the best for him.